94% of men buying dress shirts are wasting their money on logos, not craftsmanship, wrong fabric, wrong fit, wrong everything. This video fixes that. Exactly what separates a great dress shirt from an expensive mistake and where every dollar should actually go. Mistake number 1, buying by brand instead of thread. Count, the single most common error in dress shirt purchasing is paying for a name on the label when the number that actually determines how the shirt feels, breathes, and holds up over time is the thread count of the fabric itself. Most brands never tell you the thread count. That omission is not accidental. Thread count in dress shirt fabric refers to the number of threads woven per square inch of fabric. A standard commercial dress shirt uses a fabric in the 80 to 100 thread count range. These are the shirts you find at department stores under recognizable brand names retailing at $80 to $150. An 80 thread count fabric is coarse enough to feel slightly rough against the neck after a full day of wear. It peels faster under friction at the collar and cuffs. It loses its pressed appearance by midday because the weave is loose enough to relax under body heat and movement. A dress shirt fabric at 100 to 140 thread count produces a noticeably smoother surface, better drape, and greater resistance to wrinkling because the denser weave creates more fiber-to-fiber contact that maintains the fabric structure under the stresses of a full day of wear. Shirts in this range from transparent brands retailing between $70 and $120 outperform $150 branded shirts built on 80 count fabric in every measurable category. Wrinkle resistance, collar stability, surface smoothness, and longevity across wash cycles. At 140 to 200 thread count, you reach the range of genuine luxury shirtings from Italian and Swiss mills. Thomas Mason, Alumo, Canclini. These are the mills whose fabrics appear in shirts from quality makers like Charles Turwit's premium lines, Proper Cloth, and bespoke shirt makers. The hand feel at 200 thread count is categorically different from an 80 count fabric. It drapes with a fluidity that feels like a different material entirely. A shirt built from 170 count Alumo cotton will outlast, outperform, and outwear 5 cycles of department store dress shirts at twice the price per shirt. The action is simple. Before buying any dress shirt, find the thread count. If the brand does not publish it, assume it is below 100 in price accordingly. No brand investing in high thread count fabric hides that investment. Mistake number 2, ignoring collar construction. The collar is the first thing that communicates quality or the absence of it to anyone within 10 feet of you. It is also the first construction element to fail in a poorly built dress shirt. And the failure happens in a way that is impossible to fix and impossible to ignore once it begins. A well-constructed dress shirt collar has 3 components working together: the outer collar fabric, the interlining that gives it structure, and the under collar fabric. The interlining is where the quality decision is made. There are 3 options, and only one of them holds up over time. Fused interlining is the most common in commercial dress shirts. A layer of adhesive is bonded to the collar fabric under heat, stiffening it without adding structural depth. This works adequately until the first time the shirt is washed at the wrong temperature or dry cleaned repeatedly, at which point the adhesive begins to separate from the fabric. The collar buckles, twists, and develops an uneven roll that no amount of pressing can restore. Most shirts in the $40 to $120 range from mass market brands use fused collar interlining. The collar that looked sharp in the store is on a countdown. Sewn interlining, where a separate piece of woven material is hand-stitched or machine-stitched to the collar without adhesive, is the intermediate standard. The collar maintains its structure through washing and dry cleaning because the interlining is mechanically attached rather than chemically bonded. Shirts using sewn interlining appear in the $100 to $200 range from quality, direct-to-consumer brands. The highest standard is a collar with a removable collar stay channel and a sewn interlining built to maintain its roll line regardless of washing method. The roll line, the precise curve of the collar where it folds over the tie or sits open at the neck, is a construction detail that distinguishes a shirt that looks like it was made for you from one that looks like it was made for someone approximately your size. A collar with a correct roll line frames the face and neck in a way that a buckled fused collar never can, regardless of how well the rest of the shirt fits. Turn every dress shirt inside out before buying it. Run your finger along the collar seam. If you feel a hard, uniform stiffness with no flexibility, the interlining is fused. If you feel a layered structure with some give, the interlining is sewn. Buy the second one every time. Mistake number 3. Getting the fit markers wrong. Fit in a dress shirt is not about slim, regular, or relaxed cut labels. Every brand defines those terms differently, and none of them are required to match their definitions to any external standard. A slim fit from one brand is a regular fit from another. The labels are marketing, not measurement. The fit markers that actually matter are 4 specific measurements, and most men never check any of them. The first is shoulder seam position. The shoulder seam of a dress shirt should sit exactly at the edge of the shoulder, at the point where the deltoid muscle meets the arm. If the seam sits inside that point, toward the neck, the sleeves pull forward and the chest panel buckles across the upper chest. If the seam sits outside that point, down the arm, the shirt looks like it belongs to a larger man, and no amount of tailoring to the body will fix the shoulder drape. Shoulder seam position cannot be altered cost-effectively by a tailor. Get it right off the rack or accept that the shirt will never fit correctly. The second is chest allowance. A well-fitted dress shirt should have 3 to 4 inches of ease across the chest when measured flat from seam to seam and double. Less than 3 inches, and the shirt pulls across the chest when you move, creating horizontal tension lines across the front panel that are visible in every photograph you will ever take wearing it. More than 5 inches and the fabric bloats at the front and sides, creating the balloon effect that makes an otherwise well-dressed man look like he borrowed his father's wardrobe. The third is sleeve pitch. The sleeve should fall naturally from the shoulder without pulling forward or backward at rest. Most men do not check this because it requires raising and lowering the arm while looking in a mirror from multiple angles, which feels excessive in a store-fitting room. It is not excessive. A sleeve with incorrect pitch pulls the entire shirt body out of alignment every time you move your arm and creates visible distortion across the upper back and shoulder panel. The fourth is collar gap. When the collar is buttoned at the neck, you should be able to fit 2 fingers between the collar and your neck. No more, no less. A collar that requires force to button will create pressure on the neck that is physically uncomfortable after 2 hours of wear. A collar that gaps visibly when buttoned communicates that the shirt does not fit, regardless of how well everything below it works. These 4 measurements are the actual fit test for any dress shirt. The slim, regular, relaxed label on the tag tells you nothing useful. Mistake number 4, overlooking fabric weave. Type, thread count tells you how fine the fabric is. The weave type tells you how the fabric behaves in wear and what context it is appropriate for. Most men buy dress shirts without knowing the weave type and wear fabrics that are technically incorrect for their intended use, which is a different kind of wrong from a poor fit, but equally visible to anyone paying attention. Poplin, also called broadcloth in American markets, is the standard weave for dress shirts. A simple over-under weave with an equal number of warp and weft threads produces a smooth, flat, slightly crisp surface that is appropriate for business formal and business casual contexts. At high thread counts, poplin produces a surface so smooth it approaches a subtle sheen. It is the default dress shirt fabric for a reason. It photographs well, it presses cleanly, and it works across the widest range of contexts. Oxford weave uses a basket weave construction with thicker yarns that produce a softer, more textured surface with a visible matte texture. Oxford is the correct fabric for casual dress shirts, button-downs, and shirts worn without a tie. It is not the correct fabric for formal business environments or tie-wearing contexts because the texture reads as casual regardless of how the shirt is styled. Wearing an Oxford weave shirt to a board meeting communicates the same thing as wearing no tie, deliberate informality. In a formal context, that is a mistake regardless of how expensive the shirt is. Twill weave, where the weft thread passes over 2 or more warp threads in a diagonal pattern, produces a fabric with a subtle diagonal texture visible at close range and a softness that increases with thread count. Twill shirts wear beautifully, drape with more fluidity than poplin, and resist wrinkling better than either poplin or Oxford at equivalent thread counts because the diagonal structure provides more internal flexibility under stress. A 140 count twill shirt from a quality maker wrinkles less after a transatlantic flight than a 100 count poplin from a department store brand, which is the most useful practical test of dress shirt fabric performance. Herringbone weave is a variation of twill that creates a zigzag pattern visible at conversational distance. It reads as textured and slightly casual, appropriate for business casual, but not for formal contexts where a clean poplin or fine twill is expected. Buy poplin for formal contexts. Buy Oxford for casual. Buy twill for versatility and wrinkle resistance. The weave type is usually listed in the product description of any brand investing in quality fabric. If it is not listed, it is almost certainly a standard poplin in the 80 to 100 count range. Mistake number 5, choosing the wrong shirt. For the wrong context, a dress shirt is not a category. It is a range of formality levels that most men treat as a single product, buying one type and wearing it across contexts where it sends the wrong signal. The specific mistakes in context matching are more visible than most men realize and more consequential in professional environments. A white poplin shirt at 120 thread count with a spread collar is the single most formal casual combination available in the dress shirt category. It works under a suit in a board meeting, at a black tie optional event without a jacket, and in any professional context that requires visible formality. Worn with jeans and no tie, it reads as intentionally smart casual in a way that no other shirt fabric achieves with the same ease. A blue Oxford button-down is the inverse. It is the least formal dress shirt option, appropriate for business casual, casual Fridays, and smart casual social contexts. It is not appropriate under a tie in a formal business meeting because the texture communicates informality that the tie then contradicts. The visual conflict between a casual fabric and a formal accessory reads as a styling error to anyone who understands what either is communicating. The collar style is the second formality signal most men ignore. A point collar is the most formal collar style, designed to be worn with a tie and appropriate across the widest range of professional contexts. A spread collar, where the collar points angle outward at 90 degrees or more from center, is appropriate for formal contexts with or without a tie, but requires a larger tie knot to fill the spread correctly. A button-down collar is inherently casual regardless of the fabric it sits on. Wearing a button-down collar to a formal professional environment sends the same signal as wearing an Oxford weave. It tells the room you chose comfort over formality, which is a choice you are allowed to make but should make consciously. The collar color line is the third ignored signal. A white collar on a blue or striped body, the classic banker's collar, is one of the most formal dress shirt constructions available in ready-to-wear. In environments where formality is expected, it communicates authority. In casual environments, it reads as aggressively formal in a way that creates social distance rather than professional credibility. Match the fabric, the collar style, and the collar color to the formality level of the context. Getting one of those three elements wrong in either direction, too formal or too casual for the environment, is more visible than a poor fit and harder to correct after you have already dressed. Mistake number 6, ignoring gauntlet buttons and placket construction. Two construction details that almost no buyer checks and that communicate quality more clearly than any brand name to anyone who knows what to look for. The gauntlet button and the placket construction are the inside view of how seriously a brand approached the shirt's construction budget. The gauntlet button is the extra button above the main cuff button on the sleeve. Its function is to close the slit that runs up the back of the sleeve, the gauntlet opening preventing it from flapping open when the cuff is unbuttoned and rolled. On a well-made shirt, the gauntlet is a clean, flat construction with a button that closes securely and sits flush with the sleeve surface when fastened. On a poorly made shirt, the gauntlet is a raw hem slit with a button that pulls the fabric unevenly when fastened or is absent entirely. The front placket, the folded strip of fabric running down the shirt front through which the buttons are set, is the second construction tell. A well-constructed placket is a separate piece of fabric folded, pressed, and sewn with precision to the shirt front. The edges are straight, The width is consistent from collar to hem, and the buttons are spaced evenly with the button spacing calibrated so that the lowest button falls at the trouser waistband, preventing the shirt from pulling open between buttons when you sit. A fused placket, where adhesive is used to stiffen the placket rather than precise pressing and sewing, produces a stiff, flat appearance in the store that curls and separates at the edges after repeated washing. The fused placket is the collar interlining problem repeated in a more visible location. It looks sharp at point of sale and fails on a schedule visible within the first year of regular wear. Charles Tyrwhitt publishes its placket construction method in its fabric and construction documentation. Proper Cloth does the same. Brands that do not discuss placket or gauntlet construction at any point in their product description have almost certainly made the cheaper choice at both points. The absence of information is the information. Where to actually spend your money. 5 brands that publish thread counts, list weave types, disclose collar construction methods, and price their products according to what actually went into the garment rather than what the label implies. Charles Tyrwhitt retails between $70 and $120 with regular sales bringing core shirts below $50. Every product page lists the precise thread count and fabric composition. The collar interlining is sewn rather than fused across the premium line. Construction details, including placket method and gauntlet construction, are published in the brand's fabric guides. The direct-to-consumer model eliminates the wholesale markup that inflates identical construction to $200 at department stores. A Charles Tyrwhitt 120-count poplin shirt for $70 outperforms a $150 department store shirt built on 80-count fabric at every measurable quality point. Proper Cloth operates a made-to-measure model where every shirt begins with a fit algorithm translating 20 body measurements into a unique pattern. Thread count, weave type, mill origin, and construction method are listed for every fabric option. Shirts retail between $95 and $175, and the construction standard includes single needle side seams, sewn collar interlining, and a placket sewn without fusible adhesive. The price reflects made-to-measure production rather than a brand premium. For men who have never found a ready-to-wear dress shirt that fits correctly at every measurement point simultaneously, Proper Cloth solves a problem that no amount of money spent at a brand store can resolve. Gustin applies the same crowd-funded pre-order model to dress shirts that it applies to denim, eliminating inventory overhead and passing the savings to the buyer. Dress shirts from Japanese and Italian mill fabrics retail between $65 and $95. Mill provenance is disclosed for every campaign. The fabric specifications are published before purchase commitment. At $75 for a 140-count Italian poplin shirt sewn in the United States, Gustin delivers a fabric quality level that most brands charge $200 to $250 to access. Spear & Mackay is a Toronto brand retailing dress shirts between $69 and $110, with a construction standard that includes sewn collar interlining mother-of-pearl buttons on premium lines and single needle side seams. The brand publishes fabric composition and mill sourcing for its premium fabric ranges. The direct-to-consumer model keeps the markup at approximately 2 to 3 times the landed production cost. Consumer reviews consistently document collar stability across 50-plus wash cycles, the most reliable long-term performance indicator for collar construction quality. Ratio Clothing offers a made-to-measure service in the $85 to $135 range with a measurement system that captures collar size, sleeve length, chest, waist, hip, and yoke width independently rather than using a single measurement to extrapolate the rest of the pattern. The fabric library lists thread count, weave type, and mill origin for every option. The construction includes sewn collar interlining and published placket construction methods. For men in non-standard body proportions where ready-to-wear fit is structurally impossible, Ratio Clothing provides made-to-measure access at a price that mid-market brands charge for off-the-rack shirts with generic fit patterns. The brands that captured the most purchases in that survey, Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren Polo, and department store house brands, all operate at gross margins above 55%. The brands that would have delivered better construction and longer documented longevity at equivalent or lower prices captured under 8% of the total market surveyed.